He walked into the bustling cafe, blending in with the morning crowd. Just another face needing his caffeine fix. Or so it seemed. He wore a simple jacket, slightly worn jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low, hiding the eyes that owned this very place, and dozens more just like it. This was Frank, the CEO and founder of the entire coffee chain, on one of his undercover missions. He did this a few times a year, a secret ritual to see his empire from the ground up, to feel its pulse without the filter of corporate reports and polished presentations. He found a small table in the corner, a perfect vantage point. From here, he could see it all. The steam rising from the espresso machine, the focused intensity of the baristas, the hurried steps of customers, and the calm, steady presence of the servers navigating the controlled chaos. He watched as a young waitress, her name tag reading Hannah, moved with a quiet efficiency that was almost mesmerizing. She had a gentle smile for an elderly man struggling with his tray, a patient nod for a demanding customer complaining about the temperature of his latte, and a quick, cheerful word for a child who had spilled his juice. Frank saw a genuineness in her that spreadsheets and profit margins could never capture. She wasn't just doing a job, she was caring for the space, for the people in it. He noticed her uniform was a little frayed at the cuffs, her shoes well worn, signs of long hours and hard work. Yet there was no trace of resentment in her demeanor, only a serene dedication. After about 20 minutes of observation, Frank decided it was time. He caught Hannah's eye and gave a small wave. She was at his table in a moment, a notepad in hand, her smile warm and unforced. "Hi there, what can I get for you this morning?" "Just a black coffee, please," Frank said, his voice deliberately nondescript. "Coming right up," she replied, and was gone in a flash. Frank watched her go back to the counter, place the order, and then, while waiting, she quickly wiped down a nearby table, straightened a stack of napkins and shared a brief, encouraging word with a flustered new barista. She was a whirlwind of quiet competence. He felt a pang of pride, mixed with something else he couldn't quite name. This was the spirit he had envisioned when he first started the company in his garage 2 decades ago. A spirit he feared had been lost in the corporate expansion. A few minutes later, Hannah returned, placing the steaming mug of coffee carefully on his table. "Here you go, 1 black coffee. Anything else for you?" "No, this is perfect, thank you," Frank said, reaching for the mug. As he did, he noticed something tucked beneath it. A small folded napkin. He looked up at Hannah, a question in his eyes, but she had already turned to help another customer, seemingly unaware. Frank unfolded the napkin. On it, written in neat, careful handwriting, were a few simple words. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world. I don't know what it is, but I hope this coffee helps a little. Hang in there." He read the note again. And again. His heart, usually guarded by layers of corporate strategy and financial pressures, felt a sudden, sharp jolt. He looked over at Hannah, now patiently taking an order from a family with 2 restless children. She had no idea who he was. To her, he was just a stranger, a man who looked tired and burdened. And in that moment of anonymity, she had offered him a simple, profound act of human kindness. The coffee in front of him suddenly seemed insignificant. This note, this small gesture from an employee who probably earned minimum wage, was worth more than a year's worth of profits. It was a reminder of what truly mattered, a lesson in empathy he hadn't even known he needed. He had come here to inspect his business, but instead, a young waitress was inspecting his soul. He sat there for a long time, watching her work, the note held tightly in his hand. He saw her console a young woman who was quietly crying at a table, bringing her a glass of water and a cookie on the house. He saw her share her own lunch with a homeless man who had wandered in, asking for nothing but a place to warm up. Each act was small, discreet, and done with a humility that was breathtaking. Frank realized he wasn't just looking at a great employee, he was looking at a leader. She embodied the core values of his company better than he did himself, better than any of his highly paid executives. The weight of the world she had seen on his face was real. It was the weight of forgetting why he started all this in the first place. He had been so focused on growth, on numbers, on market share, that he had lost sight of the simple human connection that a cup of coffee could represent. He knew what he had to do. This wasn't something a standard Employee of the Month award could cover. This required something more. He finished his coffee, the bitter taste now feeling sweet, and walked to the counter. Hannah was there, restocking sugar packets. "Excuse me," Frank said, his voice a little shaky. She looked up. "Yes, was everything okay with your coffee?" "It was more than okay," he said, placing the empty mug down. He laid the napkin with her note next to it. "I wanted to thank you for this. You have no idea what it means." A faint blush appeared on her cheeks. "Oh, it's nothing. You just looked like you needed to hear it. I see a lot of people come through here. Sometimes a kind word is all they need." "My name is Frank," he said, extending his hand. "Hannah," she replied, shaking it. "Hannah," he repeated, looking her straight in the eye. "I have a proposition for you. It's a bit unusual. How would you feel about running a program for the entire company? A program that teaches every single one of our employees, from the baristas to the regional managers. What you just showed me today." Hannah stared at him, confused. "A program? I'm sorry, I don't understand. What did I show you?" Frank smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile that reached his eyes for the first time in years. "You showed me kindness. You showed me what this company is supposed to be about. I'm the owner, Hannah. And I think you're the one who needs to be running things." Hannah's jaw dropped. The clatter of the cafe seemed to fade into a distant hum. She looked from his face to the note on the counter and back again, her mind racing to connect the dots. The tired-looking man in the corner wasn't just a customer, he was the man whose picture hung in the back office. That day, everything changed. Hannah, the waitress with the frayed uniform and the boundless heart, was promoted. She didn't become a CEO overnight, but she was given a new, unique role: head of culture and customer experience. She traveled from store to store, not as a manager, but as a mentor, sharing her philosophy of simple, genuine kindness. She developed training programs that focused on empathy, on seeing the person behind the order, on creating small moments of connection. The company transformed. Profits did go up, but that wasn't the metric Frank cared about anymore. Customer satisfaction soared. Employee turnover plummeted. The cafes became known not just for their coffee, but for their atmosphere of warmth and community. And it all started because one person dared to see another human being, not just a customer, and offer a simple note of encouragement. It was a powerful lesson that the biggest changes often come from the smallest, most sincere acts of kindness. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.